Clyne Gardens is a botanical garden located in Swansea, South Wales. The current park was formed from the landscape gardens created by
William Graham Vivian
of the Vivian family, who purchased Clyne Castle in 1860. The estate passed to his nephew, Algernon the Admiral, in 1921. He owned it until his death in 1952. He had the greatest influence on the gardens as we see them today. The gardens consist of 19 hectares of land and include over 2,000 different plants, including over 800 rhododendrons, for which the gardens are renowned. Within Clyne Gardens there are 15 trees of interest, the first one being the Persian Ironwood. Now, as its name suggests, this tree originates from what was formerly known as Persia, modern-day Iran and southern Russia. The flowers are small, red and stamen-like and appear in February and March. In autumn, the leaves turn yellow, orange and crimson. The tree's timber is not used commercially as it is very hard as iron apparently. The tree, which is named after Johann Jacob Frederick Wilhelm Parrot, who climbed Mount Ararat in 1829, was introduced into Kew Gardens from St. Petersburg in 1840. Tree number 2 is the Blue Atlas Cedar. This is a tree found in the desert region of the Atlas Mountains of northern Africa. It is extremely long-lived and grows at an altitude of approximately 3,000 meters, where even in the heat of the North African sun the mountains remain snow-capped. The foliage of this tree is grey-blue, which reflects the strong sun and stops the tree drying out. Unlike most conifers, the tree produces male cones in autumn rather than the spring. The first example of this tree in the UK was planted in Herefordshire in 1845. It is interesting to know that the tree is still alive and well today. The third tree is the Japanese Red Cedar. As the name suggests, this tree originates in Japan, but it also grows wild in China. It is closely related to the North American coast redwood, sharing its characteristic red-colored bark. The bark peels off easily into strips, and squirrels love to use this bark to line their drays. These trees are claimed to be able to live for over 7,000 years and reach up to 45 meters in height. In Japan, this tree is a major timber tree, but it is also widely used in temple gardens. Lots of cultivated forms are grown in British gardens. However, the cultivated trees are different to the native tree of Japan in terms of their shape, size and texture. The earliest of this example was introduced into Britain in 1844. Tree 4. Coast Redwood. This is a conifer from along the Pacific coast of North America. Capable of living over 2,000 years, this coast redwood can reach 115 meters, making it the world's tallest known living tree, and with a trunk girth of up to 28 meters, which is nearly 4 times taller and over 6 times fatter than the example we have at Clyne. It has a conical crown with horizontal to slightly drooping branches. The bark is thick, fibrous, and has a bright red-brown colour, hence the name redwood. Coast redwood timber is highly valued for its beauty, lightweight, and resistance to decay. Its lack of resin makes it resistant to fire. Grown as an ornamental specimen in those large parks and gardens that can accommodate its massive size, it was discovered by Archibald Menzies in 1795 and was introduced into Britain in 1843. Tree number 5 is the Campbell's Magnolia. This tree comes from the sheltered valleys of the Himalayas and is also known as the Himalayan tulip tree. It can reputedly grow up to 45 meters in the wild, and the example you see in Clyne has been confirmed as the tallest white-flowered Campbell's Magnolia in the British Isles, so an important specimen. During colonial times, it was used for making tea chests and indeed panelling for colonial houses in India. Today, particularly in India, it is mainly used for firewood. The famous botanist Joseph Hooker gave this tree its name in honour of a close friend, Archibald Campbell, superintendent of Darjeeling. Tree 6, Western Red Cedar. This is a conifer native to the northwestern area of the United States of America. It grows in the coastal belt stretching from Oregon to British Columbia. This is one of the world's biggest trees, reaching in the wild up to 60 meters in height and 485 centimeters in diameter. Unexpectedly, the cones produced are smaller than the average conifer. The trunk of these trees are so large that Native Americans were able to make a canoe big enough for 40 people and 18 meters long. The advantage was that the timber is rot resistant and rather fragrant. It was also a good material for carving totem poles. It was introduced into Britain in 1853 by Cornish plant hunter William Lobb. Tree 7 is the Indian horse chestnut. It's from the northwest Himalayas, and this tree can grow up to 30 meters in height and forms a round canopy. In late spring, this tree produces panicles of flowers similar to the more familiar conker tree. Its leaves are bronze when young in spring, becoming green, then turning yellow in autumn. In its native lands, the dried seeds, or conkers, are ground into flour, and medicinal uses include the seed oil, which is applied externally in the treatment of rheumatism. Also, the wood is used in carving. It was introduced here in 1851 by Colonel Henry Bunbury. Tree 8 is the Handkerchief Tree. In 1869, Père David, a French missionary in western China, reported sightings of a panda and also this tree. He said about its flowers that they look like doves. The wealthy landowners in Britain and Europe wanted one of these exotic-sounding trees and sent collectors to find one. Later, the Scottish plant hunter Augustine Henry again found a single tree and sent the first specimen to Kew Gardens. In 1899, a nurseryman called John Veitch sent Ernest Wilson telling him, "I know an Irish doctor who can help you." Wilson found the doctor in China, who drew him a very crude map with an X on it to mark where the tree supposedly was. However, the X happened to be in an area 3 times the size of England, and to make matters worse, the marked area had very few roads and masses of forests to search. Despite this, he eventually found what he was looking for, but had to wait for the seeds to be produced in order to bring them back with him to Britain in 1904. In springtime, white bracts around 22 centimeters long hang down from the tree's branches, hence the name Handkerchief Tree. Tree 9 is the Turkey oak. Now, it's not from Turkey, as its name suggests, but it's from southern Europe. This is the fastest growing oak in the UK, growing twice as fast as native oaks. It has a straight, tall trunk and can reach 39 meters high. The leaves are small and narrow, and the buds and acorn cups have whiskers on them. The timber produced from the Turkey oak is not very strong, so it's rarely used. Introduced in about 1735 by nurseryman Luncombe and Pince of Exeter, it is lucky the tree can survive in a polluted environment. It was growing at Clyne throughout the time when Swansea became of increasing importance as a port for the coal and metal industries. Copperworks in the city also contributed to the terrible air and water pollution in the area at the time of the Industrial Revolution, the mid-19th century onwards. Central Park in New York has a famous avenue which has these trees growing there. Tree 10 is the Monterey Pine. This is a conifer from the Californian region of the United States of America. This tree is fast growing, typically gaining 90 centimeters per year. It is a special type of tree known as a fire climax tree. This means it has various adaptations to help it survive forest fires. These include cones that grow high in the tree and only open during fires to release their seeds. The ash left behind by the fire happens to be a very good place for these seeds to grow. The cones being closed most of the time also means that birds do not eat their seeds. Also, the rugged bark is 15 centimeters thick to protect the tree against the flames and heat. Fast growth means that the trees mature before the next forest fire. Small, young trees, of course, might not survive. This conifer was introduced into this country from America in 1833 by one of the greatest plant collectors of the 19th century, David Douglas. Incidentally, this was also the year that the British Empire finally abolished slavery. This is one of the world's greatest timber trees, but is also appreciated for its ornamental value. Tree number 11 is the small-leaved lime. The native range of this tree is Europe, including the British Isles, stretching to central Serbia and northern Iran. It's a large tree and can reach 40 meters in height. The flowers are unusual, being a yellow-green color. They contain lots of nectar that is very attractive to bees and other insects. The finely grained wood is not structurally strong, but is used for refined wood carvings, such as those seen in St. Paul's Cathedral and Windsor Castle. It is also commonly used for lightweight projects such as carved spoons. A fibre from the inner bark is used to make mats, shoes, baskets and ropes. Fresh flowers are used as a traditional herbal remedy, which is made into tea. Princess Mary of Teck, later Queen Mary of England, planted the example growing at Clyne in around 1900. Tree 12.
Monterey Cypress.
This tree is from Monterey in California. It has lemon-scented foliage and produces small spherical cones and can grow up to 60 meters in its first year. As a parent of the Leyland cypress, the Monterey Cypress gave the leyland its vigour. In addition, Monterey Cypress trees generally grow better in the UK than at home in California. This is because in the wild they grow in very exposed areas which are blasted by Pacific winds. It is mainly used as hedging and windbreaks, particularly in seafront areas. It was first introduced into Britain at around 1838 and was later introduced into our gardens by Graham Vivian in 1860. Tree number 13 is the giant redwood. This is a mountain tree that grows at 1,200 to 2,400 meters above sea level in the Sierra Nevada area of America. It likes an open position, rain, and a mild climate. This tree is the world's largest living organism. Unfortunately, however, there are only limited numbers of these huge trees left. One of the largest known examples is nicknamed General Sherman. It is 83 meters tall, has a girth of 24 meters, and weighs over 2,000 tons. The tree in Clyne Gardens, although large, is only as big as one branch on General Sherman. The native Tolawa Indians who lived on the Pacific coast of Oregon and California believed the giant redwood to be sacred. Later used by settlers for timber, the stumps of these magnificent trees were often used as foundations for structures such as dance floors and concert halls. More recently, however, due to their great environmental value, these trees are now protected by law and none have been felled during the last century. It was discovered in the 1840s during the gold rush in America, and on hearing of it, many landowners in this country wanted one and thought it would be a fitting tribute to the Wellington, being of superior quality to other trees in terms of its size. This led to it being nicknamed in Britain the Wellingtonia. Tree 14, the red oak. This is from eastern North America. In America, they have over 60 kinds of oak tree, but in Britain we have only 2 native species. The red oak has over 250 organisms, such as insects, lichens, and mosses, which live on it. The bark is very moist and a very suitable home for many creepy crawlies, we should say. Its name comes from its autumn colours. In Britain, however, the red oak leaves rarely turn as scarlet as they do in America. The acorn from this tree takes approximately 18 months to mature. An acorn you see in autumn may not be ready to fall until the next year. This example has the biggest crown spread currently found in Clyne Gardens. The timber is used commercially in both the United Kingdom and the United States of America. It is fast growing, which means that commercial forests can be quickly harvested. It was introduced into this country in 1724 from Canada. Tree 15 is the tulip tree. This tree originates in eastern North America. It is related to Campbell's Magnolia, which itself is also known as the Himalayan tulip tree. It is North America's biggest broad-leaved tree with flowers that resemble tulips. They are produced in midsummer and grow high up in the crown. In autumn, the leaves turn a very bright yellow-gold colour and are recognizable by the notch in the tip. It is characterized by having a very light timber that is buoyant and has been used in the past by Native Americans for making canoes. The tree was introduced to Charles I former King of England, around the mid-17th century.